We are live. We are live on the Jeff Knows Any podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Lopes. Super excited to have on today Lorenzo Patane. What is up, brother?
What's up, my man? Thanks so much for having me. Shout out to your beautiful audience. It's such a great opportunity. I'm really looking forward. I mean, I've been looking forward to this for a couple of years now almost. So
Yeah,
now I'm
yeah,
really pumped it's finally to
yeah.
come.
It's funny you're saying that. We've been on and off through social media for a couple of
Right.
years. I've been trying to get Lorenzo on the podcast for a couple of years, and then life. I mean, it's journeys, right? I mean, everything happens for a reason.
Journeys.
We're at the right
Sure.
time. Lorenzo's
Sure.
actually getting his life changing around the next little while. He's moving from Germany to the US, big changes, but we're going to get through his whole story. He's an actor, he's a coach. There's so much layers to this and incredible individual as well. So we're just going to go through it.
Thanks so much, man.
Give me your story. Like, where did you grow up? How did this all start? Where did your passion for acting and all this begin?
Sure. I mean, it started at a very young age. I was really small, like 5 years old. My parents back then, they moved from Sicily. They immigrated to Germany to make a better living, to look for better opportunities. Back in the 70s, life in Sicily was kind of rough and sort of technological development and everything. And so we moved to Germany, to this completely new environment, pretty cold and pretty severe, compared to the colorfulness and to the vividness and to the warmth of the Sicilian ambient. So that was kind of crazy. So my method to kind of cope with that, that loss a little bit, that emotional loss, was to kind of, set up acts, right? I was impersonating and I was doing noises all the time. I was doing funny stuff. Like everybody was looking at me like, what's wrong with this kid, right?
Yeah.
And so my parents, they were, they were running this very successful Italian place in the middle of Germany. It was like one of those first like top-notch Italian places, like high-end Italian trattorias, like really good food, outstanding dishes, great presentation. Like in the 80s, that wasn't the standard back then in Germany, where you can just find like some very, very like acceptable, modest places. So it was a nice place. They had some politicians there. They had some U.S. Air Force commanders there, because Rammstein was just, around the corner. So we had a lot of American personnel coming in, paying with dollars. And that was also my, that's where I also started getting to know, the American language, the American culture.
What was your age roughly at that age? What was your age?
5 years,
5 years old. Okay, so you're
and
very
lo
young
and
still.
behold, yeah, I was pretty young. And then we had this great night, like big menu night. And we had American personnel. We had a lot of like politicians, German politicians, like some really top-notch people there. And the dude who was, the host of the night, he kind of, he said to us like 30 minutes before the show basically started, this whole menu night, he said, you know what, I can't come. I'm not able to do it. I'm really, really sorry. You have to run the presentation for yourself. And since my parents then weren't so good with the German language, because they kind of emigrated just a couple of years before that, my mom just basically looked at me and she gave me the mic and she said, make them laugh for 2 hours. And that's what I did. And they paid me, they clapped, it was just an amazing night, right? And I kind of collected this money afterwards. And from that day on, I knew it. I would have to perform in some sort of way or the other, because I felt like this urgency, right? This wonderful energy that was flowing back and forth from the audience back to me. And I was looking into their eyes and they were just smiling and laughing. I can't remember what I said, but for 2 hours straight, sure enough, I made them laugh. And that was kind of, the ramp that kind of made me jump into the wild unknown.
When did English come into your education, like speaking English and learning English? Was it right from the beginning? Because obviously now you have Italian at home, you have German at school.
Right.
Was English something that came on later on?
It was more the culture. I was very lucky that my father was into American, he had vinyl and records and albums, and he was listening to a lot of American music. And again, like all these American officers, the American personnel that came over from Rammstein, for dinner all the time, I was just catching up with that vibe. I loved the language.
Yeah.
I loved English right away. I loved to kind of communicate. To me, it sounded very much more active and vivid than the German language, which to me was, as a little kid. Now I find it a beautiful language and a wonderful method of expressing myself. But back then, to me, like English was way closer than to Italian than German was. So I loved kind of to communicate and just picking up on notes and tones and kind of replicating some words I was, getting from the records my father was listening to. And that's kind of how I built it up.
So from there, you're in school, when did you actually start the educational aspect, because it's a massive part of acting, right? A
Oh,
lot of people don't understand is the educational aspect of it, the pronunciations, the language, the expression. Like, when
absolutely.
did it all start? Was there a school you went to? Did you do it in your basic school with like theater?
Sure. I was, my mother, I mean, she she followed me, right? She kind of noticed from that night on that there was something, because obviously all of a sudden it wasn't just her and, our family members laughing at my jokes. It was like, this big hall, right? Full of important people. And they were
Yeah.
like really in tears. And so she kind of noticed that, so, okay, my son really probably has some sort of a talent. So she sent me to Waldorf school. Waldorf school is a very holistic kind of, it's an arts school, if you want to say call it so, right? Where you practice theater and poetry and music, and you like eurythmy, some forms of also physical expression that is absolutely, it's unknown to the regular school system. And
Yeah.
that's where I kind of started playing school theater. And by the age of 12, that's where my first like really professional theater act started. And from that moment on, I was basically acting all the time, on and off, until I had drama school when I think I was like 22, 23 years old, something like that. 20, 23, 24 years old. I went to drama school. I said, finally, okay, I have to try it. I was doing all sorts of jobs. I was also into fashion. I love art, and I was into street culture. I was doing graffiti art. I was also
Graffiti.
producing rap songs with my crew and all that. So that was all wonderful. But I felt with acting, with this communication of, enacting this other person, and jumping into these different characters, I felt like the biggest freedom, right? The biggest control over my choices. And that's why I also started, kind of getting in when I'm talking about, when people are like, yeah, but acting is lying and impersonating someone else and pretending to be like, you're just, but it's not what it is. I mean, great communication, whether that's acting, whether that's creating a graphic design poster, whether it's creating a great script or a great podcast, it's always art.
Art.
It always needs sincerity. It always needs like an exchange, a great communication, and you need a certain amount of truthfulness to achieve that. That we all wear masks during our regular lives, and that
Yeah.
we all hide our intentions here and there, and that we all kind of try to cover up our core in order to not get, in a way wounded,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
to success, and that we don't get hurt that much. Of course, that's granted. We all use masks, but acting is not lying. It's actually quite the opposite. It's kind of, getting, rip away all the BS, and get in touch and get in tune with what's juicy and critical about you.
I love it. I love what you said there. So, was there any actual actors or people in theater that you kind of looked up to and try to almost, I want to say mimic, but try to be inspired
Mm,
to achieve, or somebody that you saw in America, or somebody you saw on the telly that was just like,
sure.
I would love to follow their footsteps?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, my father, who was like a moviegoer, he loved music and he was dancing, and right, he was like, my mother was more like the Sicilian mother type, a bit more serious, a bit more ethical, a bit more
Right.
upright, right? And my father was more like the other facet of the Italian way of
Yeah.
living.
Yeah.
So he introduced me to American music a lot, and movies, and he would sometimes would even go on, and to such an extent, to fight against my mom to let me watch some great movies, because he really believed in the movie culture also. So I started at a pretty young age to watch movies like, Sergio Leone movies, Stanley Kubrick movies,
Yeah.
and I would say Peter Sellers was one
Yeah.
who kind of impacted me a lot. It's somebody I feel very kind of, this type of resonance, this energy that this unsettling goofiness of him, that I like that, right? And he has so many facets of interpreting. But I loved also Clint Eastwood, and grew up with Michael Caine, with all these iconic actors like Bob De Niro and Al Pacino in
Yeah.
the 80s, of course, and Harrison Ford and all these people. I love these epic, adventurous type of leaders on stage. Robin Hood, all these people that were kind of, standing in for something. I felt always like, I'm doing this, if I'm gonna be an actor, I want to, kind of give people something to, to kind of to nurture them with a sense of idealism, with a sense of not only playing a character, but kind of portraying something, standing in for something, like those iconic characters from the 70s and the 80s. And
Yeah.
that these were the actors I was looking up to for sure.
And as crazy as those iconic actors created movies they're generational, right?
Absolutely.
You think of you think of De Niro, man, the amount of epic movies he's been in. Pacino, I mean,
mesmerizing.
Scarface, Godfather, probably considered top 10 movies of all time, and he's been in 2 of them, which is incredible, right?
Man.
Dustin Hoffman, incredible
movie. Like, this guy is crazy, right? And I like this, right? To allow myself to be crazy. And so over time, I've learned to kind of, through drama school and through, being on stage and being a pro actor and really like getting to the point where you really earn money with acting. I mean, I wish all the best and all the luck to all the newbies out there, all the young guns who are just starting this to get hired right away and they got a breakthrough right away and they can enjoy life for the rest of their lives. But hey, the heartmanship, the quest of, being on stage.
We're going to talk a lot about that.
Right.
Yeah, continue. Continue.
That critical mass, I think, is necessary to build up like that second skin that ultimately makes you stand on the stage. It's not the amount of people sitting there in the audience; it's the amount of critical mass that you want to get out to impress them.
I love that you said that. I had on a good friend of mine I've met through my main company is called Kimura, where I've started that 17 years ago, where we develop and build martial art and fitness equipment, and an athlete we sponsored, 15 years ago, that was fighting in the UFC, Jesse Liadon, and he went from MMA fighter, retired, became an actor, and he's been at it for I would say the 15 years, maybe more. And we had him on the podcast. Incredible guy. He's had incredible, great roles, but he's also had so many moments where he's in all these Fast and Furious movies and all these other movies, and he'll be there for 2 weeks, 3 weeks on set, and then his part is cut from the movie. And he has these heart-throbbing stories. It's like, it's such a hard industry.
Yes, sir.
They typecast you. It's such a hard industry to break in, to get your foot in the door. And this guy's been at it for years and years, and he's always trying. He was just there's a movie on Netflix the other day, and I was watching, I'm like, oh my God, there's Jess, he's on it. And he was on it for like 2 minutes. He's like, that was like 3-4 weeks of recording. And it's like, it's so hard as an actor. He's still getting paid, but you want that fame, you want that exposure, you want to get to the next level. And it's so hard of an industry. There's millions and millions of people trying to get that one role, that one opportunity. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about, and it's something you kind of pushed on there, is the hardship. It's like, it's not this Hollywood beautiful glimmer and lights. It's a long road to get that one break.
Yes, sir. I mean, look, I'm a history fanatic. It's over the nerd status at this point of my life, but let's admit it, I'm a fanatic for history. And so sometimes, to me personally, it helps tremendously to kind of take a step back and take, a look at the greater picture. Where is the context actually happening? Where is this actually coming from? And where are we going with this? Because of course, you can get focused on the billboard. You can get focused on the award. You can get focused on the accolades and the big checks. And by all means, it's necessary to have a strong ambition working for yourself and to set yourself up for big quests and big dreams, because we are adventurous on this earth ball for 72 years, on average. And after that, it's over. So make sure to get some nice information, some juicy stuff into your system, because it's really worth it. So if you set your context like this, that you are on a mission to, gather as much valuable and great and outstanding information as possible, and you look at the history of acting, where it's coming from, it's from the Greek tragedies, it's from the enacting of understanding the universe, of putting masks on and having those ritual dramas and explaining to the audience, to the peasants, right, to the citizenship, what God is, what the Almighty looks like, what the universe is, and how the forces of the universe can receive a physical metaphor in order to understand their workings, the celestial, alignments, the constellations, the equinoxes, the solar eclipses. All that is incorporated into the lore of the classical drama. And this is what we do throughout our life. we have 3 acts to explore life. And in between, the craziness happens. And yes, sometimes we have high oscillations, sometimes we have slumps, and sometimes we have to go through that valley of shadow and death. But then we will eventually come, up as victorious, because in the end, of course, we have to make ends meet. Of course, we need to kind of, provide for our family and be satisfied in the process. It's not about, giving up on your life just to, pursue the quest of being an actor, but understand yourself. You are the illustrator of something that goes beyond numbers, that goes beyond physics, that goes beyond math. It's art, it's resonance, it's that beautiful intercultural communication. And if you see yourself just, collecting as much experience as possible and trying to stay on the light side of things, eventually there will be the time, the opportunity, the chance where all this accumulated life experience can finally put it into a canal for yourself and let it work effectively. And that will have certainly that impact that you always kind of, wishing for yourself. And I'm not speaking out of, it's true. I've seen it, right, Jeff? I'm helping creators now for over 10 years as a coach. And I've seen it. Just put in the great work. Just surround yourself with great information and resources and implement them, take action, right? Just follow up with them, not just only consume them. And if you do that, and if your context is exploration and fun and trying to be as consistent by exploring your art as possible, greatness will come no matter what. How that greatness looks like, if that's like a regional theater where you have a sold out night, one after the other, you have great community theater going on, a lot of people coming, you have some patronage going on, you make some decent money. Or if that future looks like, being in Hollywood or some other theater somewhere else in the world, or maybe just playing in Indian movies or South African movies. I mean, we can use acting on YouTube. We can use acting for our social media, for our business endeavors. We can transform that acting experience into a powerful weapon for our success. It doesn't need to be in Hollywood. That's what I was trying to say in the beginning. We get so focused with the light, the diamonds, with the bling bling, but in between being broke and having shiny eyes on your wrist, there is life happening. There's so much opportunities and things going on. And sometimes if the industry rejects you for certain reasons, like, okay, dig out your own industry, create your own market, right? Be your own entrepreneur, build that brand around your talent and find solutions. And you will see someone will appreciate that. My experience so far is, Jeff, in over 33 years now being an actor and 25 years in the entertainment industry, like almost 10 years being a coach. Art has lovers, like life has lovers. If you love your art, you will find admirers and lovers of your art, and you will get paid.
I love that. So let's talk about you. Let's talk about your journey. Where did your journey take place? Where did it go? Was it theater? Was it behind the lights, the glimmer? Like where did your career take you, and how did it take you into coaching?
Yeah, that's a good question, man. Because I am very privileged and blessed to have many artistic instruments inside of me that are quite acceptable in the way how they look, right? Whether that's my drawings, my paintings, whether that's my fashion, whether that's my acting. So I was, for big time of my life, I was like, yeah, I'm an actor. I'm a producer of moments, and it's beautiful. It's all that, but like really, I mean, honestly, this is something that I felt, becoming increasingly a thing for me, that I felt, yeah, okay, it's working. I'm an actor. It's beautiful. I'm making some money. But where am I relevant? Like, but not for myself. Like, oh, I need to be, there needs to be like a statue in my hometown in Sicily, describing my success to the peasants, right? It's not that. So where's my relevance in terms of, what am I really giving to people? And granted, I mean, I got fans. It's beautiful. They stop me on the street and tell me, hey, your work is beautiful. And that already is like much, more than 90% of all the actors out there actually have. And I'm not taking that for granted at all. But, of course, TV can create so much around a person, even if that person is, let's say, questionable, right? Yeah. And so I wanted some relevance where people understand what real value I was trying to give, and not only for the movies and for the characters I was playing and interpreting. And so I started realizing that I'm pretty good at giving people advice on their monologues. You start at drama school at giving advice, right? You have those open critique sessions and all that. And I started realizing that people were really attentively listening to what I was saying in those open sessions and really trying to implement what I was trying to say. And that it helped most of the times. And so it happened in New York. I was there actually for fashion reasons. And my best man, my brother from another mother, Daniel Alexander, another great actor, beautiful human being. You should interview him as well, man. He's a very inspiring person living in LA. And he kind of, came over from the Ukraine 20 years ago to the US. And it's such an inspiring, fantastic person. And back in the days, he was, engaged with this beautiful Japanese lady, and she needed a coach for this role, and he couldn't make it on that day because he was, doing fashion. He was a model back then in New York, and so I said, you know what, I coach you. And she got booked, and it was like Grudge 3, right? She got pretty much booked right away based on the tape that we shot in Champion Studios up in the Upper West in New York. And I got back, and then I thought, it was not a big deal. And I came back to New York, and I was invited by the Ikehata family, the family of this Japanese girl, Amy Ikehata, which is a pretty fucking famous entertainment family in Japan. I didn't know that back then. They're like really like Ikehata is like the Frank Sinatra of Japan. He played in Akira Kurosawa movies, Red Beard as a lead, so he's really big. Yeah. And so they invited me to this wonderful hotel, like in New York, really everything gold, cutlery, everything expensive. And we wanted to say thank you, like Japanese people do, like
very respectful.
Man, I was so humbled by that experience. I was like, I am nothing. Go away, right? Because they were like obviously very rich and wealthy people, and they were so humble, towards me, and that kind of still today shocks me. And I understood it had value, that my work had value. Of course, it sounds like futile. Yeah, big restaurant, big hotel, everything expensive there. You understood your value. Of course, it happened before that. But they really took effort to explain to me during that breakfast that I kind of helped Amy discovering something that she couldn't discover, throughout all of her years being an acting student in New York. So all the schools she went to, all the workshops, she kind of scrambled up, and all the things that they felt it wasn't as much as what we achieved in one session of self-tape, in one self-tape session. And that kind of, that started the process. And when I dropped out of my show here in Germany because I wanted to kind of have a break and move to Italy, I met my future wife, and I wanted to kind of work in Italy as well. And of course, I crash landed, and I was broke for a couple of years. And then my wife said, you know what, I got this beautiful friend of mine. I just looked her up on Facebook, and she kind of mentions this English audition. Why don't you help her out? Like, gain a couple of bucks, you help her with the pronunciation and whatnot. And just, it's not a big deal, right? So she came over for dinner. We talked about the audition, and the other day we taped it, and it was for John Wick. And talking about initial conditions and how important the initial conditions are, right? And how important it is to kind of have igniting your product with something extraordinary. That was, of course, like super, super helpful. And dude, that was 2013. And we never stopped working as a coach, as a company, as a studio, not one single day from that day on. It's just,
are you still doing acting on your own, or you're focused?
Sure, like every day. I'm on set shooting every day.
Okay, what are you shooting? Is it a TV series? Is it
soap
movies?
Opera,
right, so you're in a soap opera.
Yes, I'm a lead in a soap opera.
How long you been the lead in the soap opera? What's the name of the soap opera? Is it German or is it Italy? In Italy?
It's a German soap. I froze. I see.
Yeah, you froze. You froze. I could hear your voice, but it froze. Oh, there you're back. I'll edit that out. No worries.
All right. Yes, I'm playing every day, and this show is now running for 18 years, and I've been on and off for a couple of years, coming back and forth. But it's called Tempest of Love, and yeah. And
you repeat that. You said for how many years?
18 so far.
Wow,
it's getting hard, man. I have to.
That is the incredible thing about soap operas, is the consistency of characters. And you don't see that in anything else. I mean, in North America, I mean, there's Days of Our Lives and all these big soap operas. I remember as a kid, As the World Turns, my mom used to watch all these soap operas. And as a kid, I would come after school, be home at 3 p.m., and my mom would be coming home from work and watching a soap
Yes,
opera, or she'd be
right.
recording it on a VHS and watching
Yeah,
the soap opera.
reliable. Right.
But these characters, literally, I'll turn on the TV now, getting home, and the soap opera will be up, and I'm like, they're still the same characters. They're still the same faces. I'm like, how is that
Right.
even possible that 15, 20 years later, like I'm 46 now. I remember watching this as a 5, 6 year old kid, and some of these actors are still doing the same soap opera, which is
Yes, sir.
incredible. If you could
Right.
lock into a soap opera, this is probably today's hint of the day. Lock into a soap opera, you're set for life.
You are pretty much set for life, but
I'm just being
it's really it.
sarcastic. Yeah.
No, I mean there is a certain validity to your to your affirmation for sure. You're set. I mean, you're safe.
Yeah.
I'm a gypsy. I don't like to be safe. So there is
Yeah.
a certain conflict of interest there. I love being there. I love acting. I love experimenting,
Yeah.
putting a new show on a new show like every day and kind of changing things here and there and kind of experimenting basically with my character. But I love to be free as well and to kind of, change my status and roam for other things and discover other things as well. So if you feel like being a person that has this nomad type of spirit, of adventurous spirit inside of someone else, I mean, for a certain period it's great to give you structure and safety, but then of course art needs to evolve. Art needs progress, evolution. You need to change, right? If you get too comfortable, too satisfied, too complacent with your art becomes mediocre, and that's the death of art.
Have you movie wise? Okay, let's talk about this over. So you're moving to the US. We're going to talk about
Yes.
that in the next how
Right.
many months?
I'm gonna, it's 5 weeks from now.
5 weeks from now. So, and we're going to be
Right.
releasing this podcast very soon. So 5 weeks from now, what happens to that soap opera? Are you officially retired from that role? Or are you going to be going back to record it? What happens with that?
Right. So no, obviously I'm quitting because I want to work in the US,
Yeah.
and but since they don't want to let me go, we're trying to find some work models where I can theoretically be introduced in a spin-off movie, let's say like a standalone movie, which would be like a tremendous opportunity to solidify this role that I've played for so many years. And it would be an incredible honor because again, it's not something that is so granted, right? I'm a Sicilian immigrant son, and now I get to play a role with breaks for almost 20 years, right? And I got recognized on the street. People love the soap opera, the product, and so already I kind of made a name for myself in a very important and big country like Germany. So that's already like a big honor. And if there would be like a possibility to kind of cement this role once and forever and kind of create a spin-off movie for that, where I would also have the need to kind of interfere with the dialogue section. So if I would get that type of guarantee to be a bit more also involved in the
Yeah.
creative process and the dialogue and the writing and all that, I could see myself kind of concluding that working cycle. But then obviously I would just solely focus on being successful in the US and creating more and more great entertainment over there for sure.
I want to go two directions with that.
Right.
Do you have anything lined up in the US, or you're going there and starting off like we're starting off fresh? Take away your coaching, the acting
Mhm.
aspect. Are you starting
Right.
fresh, or do you have stuff lined up?
It's pretty much fresh.
So that's scary. That could be scary.
It's
Exciting.
not for me. It's not
Exciting.
scary.
Okay.
It's what I did throughout my life.
Yeah. Next question is you kind of delved a bit into it right there. Producing, directing, is this something you've done already? Is this something you want to get more into? Like, well, where's your aspects with that? Because you see a lot of actors that have a longevity career like yourself eventually turn that direction into producing or directing their own
Sure.
stuff. They put their own spin on stuff. Where are you with that?
So the Coach MC studio developed pretty quickly from, back then from that John Wick audition of just being an acting coach to being some sort of an ad agency, if you want to call it so. Now I'm coaching not only actors and performers, I'm also, I'm coaching lawyers, I'm coaching athletes, professional sports, athletes, I'm coaching companies, even bigger ones. And so what we coach basically is just great communication. It's to be outstanding and as frictionless and as effective as possible with your clients, with your environment, with your culture to create, that blue ocean for yourself.
Yeah.
So I'm a big believer in the blue ocean strategy and creating a unique product, something where you have a great core strength, something you're a genius at, the T-shaped employee, if you want to call it so. You have one basic column, one pillar that is absolutely amazing, and then on top on that, we stack a horizontal bar with many different attitudes and disciplines and aspects of your knowledge and all that are completely different from each other. And by doing that, we're constructing a unique product. Let's say, I don't know, Jackie Chan is he's a blue ocean actor, if you want to call it so, right? He combines comedy and acting and kung fu and stunt and all that. It's unique, right? He has no competitors. So that's what we're basically doing. And then after the coaching, we found out after a couple of years that people, wanted to kind of, express that through a vision statement for their company and all that. And then they hired, foreign filmmakers to kind of show that vision, and we weren't satisfied with the outcome of those products. And so we thought, no, we have to shoot these products as well. So we went on to the third phase, where we're not coming in and coaching people and creating a blueprint for the branding, for the internal communication, for their culture. No, we are also shooting that very visual statement that should be the identifier for the culture themselves. So I went on to directing those commercials and industrial reels, and I'm enjoying it a lot. I mean, I'm enjoying a lot because it's a beautiful new aspect of, bringing everything together. My nerdism, my drawing skills, my communicational skills, my, let's say, emotional projection skills, all that comes kind of beautifully together when I'm directing, which I'm also doing with the self-tapes. Let's be honest, I'm directing those self-tapes for over 10 years now. So it kind of naturally happened to me that I'm finding myself more and more being fond of the directing game as well. And I could see definitely myself doing it. My wife has something against it because she wants me to be home to cook, right? And to provide. And directing is a very stressful job, right? Coaching I can do from the comfort of our beautiful place. Directing means to be on set like 18 hours a day, which definitely I will do one day with her, probably because she's a great script supervisor. But I it's not definitely something that I'm completely like I'm trying to fletch out of my toolbox, but it's something that certainly will grow with me, and maybe there will be the opportunity to shoot like a feature as well. Let's see.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So, what put in your mind to move to the U.S.? When did that click in your head? I'm like, I'm going to do it because, like you said, you're very comfortable, and obviously you said one thing about you is always taking adventure, taking an opportunity. So, where did that opportunity come? Was it through a friend, an opportunity? Like, and what part of the U.S. do you mind me asking? Were you moving to?
Sure, I always wanted to move to California, and due to recent developments in our beautiful Golden Sunshine State, we're now moving to Florida because we discovered Miami a couple of years ago, and I just love the vibe there. It's closer to Europe also. It has different reasons. It's not only the California issue. I'm closer to the East Coast, where I'm also having a lot of relationships in New York as well. So it's comfortable to be, closer to Europe for my mom as well. So there are many, many reasons for that. But yeah, we're moving to Miami Beach.
Yeah, good. Yeah, it's funny because I mean, since Joe Rogan dumped California on the left, man, it's like everybody's following suit. I was like, you're gonna say Texas, because everybody feels like everybody's moving to Austin, Texas, right? Nice celebrities and all that. But
I love LA though. I love LA. I mean, I was always in love with California and with LA.
I think that's just the big picture, right? I mean, it's what we glimmer and what we see through your lens, your Hollywood. It's that vision of LA, the stars, the Hollywood square, that like it just it embodies movie, right? Hollywood, right? So I mean, I think that's what everybody pushes towards. But I mean, Florida, man, you guys, the governor there, we might even end up being the president. Is I mean, they got taxes, everything. It's just a great place. Florida is great. Texas is great. There's a lot of great spots in the U.S. to live. A lot of great spots to live.
I've been traveling to the US now for the last 25 years of my life. I've been to New York, Chicago, Florida, like, the South. I love the South of the states, Nashville, Tennessee, and Louisiana.
Nashville is a place that's grown.
it is grown, man, and
It
it's
is
fantastic. The
so much.
festival, the music, the vibrance there, it's just
Yeah.
amazing.
I
It's
mean,
a
artists, when you talk about art and artists,
artist music,
there
and
is,
not
yeah,
only
even
music,
just art in general, pop art and everything. Like,
right?
it's
Right.
Nashville is
Good
incredible.
galleries.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I love it there. I love I could see myself living all over the US over the course of time because it's since I first kind of, laid foot on American soil, I was in love, man. I was shocked by the freedom. I was shocked by the colors. I was shocked by the opportunities. I was just shocked all over, right? To me, the US is still, it's the one place where you can really cook up your dreams, where you can really look out for something enormously important and something to fulfill yourself and to have quests and to pursue something where you feel like there is a chance to realize that over there. You feel that it's in the air, it's tangible. And I love that about the US. And so it's different all over. It's diverse. It has
Yeah.
unique spots, great niches, great pockets of creativity. It has great food, great culture, great nature. I mean, what else do you need? I feel free there. I feel like in control. And I know that sounds a bit weird, and I don't know, but like in the US, I feel understood.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's you, right? And you said there's so much opportunity. There's so much opportunity. I mean,
Just not.
anywhere. If you're a natural hustler and you have a drive, you could create
Yes,
opportunity anywhere. So I
sure.
mean, have you ever been? I'm from Toronto, Canada. Have you ever been to Canada before?
No, never. And I actually got some relatives there, some cousins there in Toronto.
Yeah, Toronto is a mix of Boston, New York, Chicago. I mean,
Yeah,
it's a beautiful city, very multicultural, great restaurants, great nightlife, great art. I mean,
that's
incredible
what they
galleries
tell
and
me.
colorful
Yes.
stuff. And even just for the filmmaking, and prior to COVID, we are becoming like a mecca for movie making, man. I mean,
Mhm.
the studios here were just building downtown by the water. It was like studio after studio going up, and
Mhm.
massive movies are being filmed here. So it's a great spot for artists as well and actors and stuff like that's trying to get their career going here as well, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
so where do you see yourself in the next 4 to 5 years? It besides obviously the coaching, developing, like, are you at the point with your business, like you obviously work very hands on with your clients? Is there a point where you do want to, as an entrepreneur, and when you are an entrepreneur, to take
Yes.
that into the point where you're on top and you kind of have your whole ecosystem with your staff kind of doing what you're doing, mimicking, and you're kind of building a process and the procedures in place that other people could run in and you could kind of be overviewing it? Or is this something you still want to work one-on-one with customers and your clients?
I think both would be gigantic to
Yeah.
have both working for me. I mean, I knew one thing before moving to the US. I was making sure to read every piece of literature of every top successful American entrepreneur that ever existed.
Yeah.
So I read every book on every empire that is out there in the US. And so the first thing that I've understood is I have to create a philosophy for myself, and I can't do that just by telling my philosophy. I have to show my philosophy. So before moving to the US, I finished writing my book. I finished kind of laying that groundwork to have that reference ready to roll out for me whenever somebody's looking at me in the US, because it's just a different type of doing business over there,
Yeah.
respectively to Germany or to the rest of Europe. And I also found it absolutely necessary for me to kind of, after 10 years of being a coach and kind of getting there pretty spontaneously and kind of, learning by doing it every day and kind of, branching out more and more. But I love improvisation. My life is improv, right? Throughout. And I will always teach improv. And
Yeah.
improvisation will be always like a big part of who I am, of how my organism works and how my system are, getting into place, because I totally believe and I totally trust on the universe of providing me with the situation that I always need the most in the moment where it feels the worst. And so I'm at my best, right? When times need me, right? When the challenges are big. So I was needing to make sure that I have that information working for me and ready, so I can in the US start thinking about scaling this, right? So people would get my book, my philosophy, my structure, my video, all my information, and could see this is his manifesto. This is how he wants to jumpstart in a remarkable way any type of artistic communication, and make sure that the foundations of that is kind of, is brought to all the branches of my enterprise network, and then they can eventually start to work for themselves. Of course, I'm going to automate products like, shooting master classes and webinars and all that stuff. I'm going to have my book working for me, and I have my, weekly entertainment roundtables. But I would, at a certain point, I know, need to hire a couple of people, very determined, committed, consistent, just a few of them, but some crazy people who want to join me in this beautiful adventure and trying to become a little media company, a little ad communication brand forming agency that is very modular, that is very flexible. We don't need no offices per se. We could be a traveling company as well at a certain point in the future, and serving, creatives all over the globe. Because definitely my wife and I, we looked at, like, even with future kids in mind, we love to travel, we love to connect, we love to discover new pockets along the way. And so this is going to be our approach: to scale the company, to have a bigger team, like 3 to 5 people more to what we have right now, and to kind of carry on with that core group for as long as we humanly can, till we have to scale it again and prop it up again, where to a certain point I can just delegate it from the top, but still want to be involved with not only the most paying clients, but with the ones where I feel like I can still develop and progress the most. I still do pro bono work, and I will do pro bono work throughout my career, just helping some artists that really need it and are completely broke, and just help them to jumpstart their engine a little bit, so they can start to kind of make some revenue, start kind of understanding what their position in the game is.
I think that's so important. I think this is the giving back aspect. I've been an entrepreneur for 27 plus years. And I mean, that's a huge aspect of what I do. I mean, I went through a 3-year period where I took on, God, over 60 something young entrepreneurs, and until this day, I was on the phone the other day with another. I love being able to pass that knowledge, be able to pass the wrongs, the imperfections, the things that I did wrong through my process, make them understand, and be able to speed up their process. And I've helped guys start up with startups. Now they're running 6-figure companies over the years. And I never charged a penny, right? It was just more of giving back.
Right.
So I think that's very important. So when you get to a certain point in your life that you could do that, and you're trading your time for this young entrepreneur, and you're seeing them develop, there's a satisfaction to that.
Oh, absolutely. Maybe it's the ego. I'm not claiming that I'm egoless and that there is not this
no, it's a little of everything, right? I mean, it's a little of everything, but there's this special feeling when you see them succeed. It's almost like they're your little baby. And if you get the right people, and you'll know when they're the right people to mentor, and obviously you understand that, they appreciate that, and they come back. Like I have, God, there's a gentleman I've been working with for years now, Aaron Gobble, and he was the first legally blind football player to play Division I school as a legally blind football player, and he wanted to get into public speaking and really build his career. And I've been working with him for 2 years, and this kid's now making 6 figures public speaking. He's all over every company, and we started from ground zero, and when we built up this little brand and a company for him. So he's seeing that, and he calls me all the time, and he's always he'll shoot me a text. He shot me a text a couple days ago, just like a random question, like, I need help with this, and all this. I love it, because it solidifies that everything you've done, there's a meaning to it all, right? There's a meaning to it, and passing that knowledge on is so important.
You have siblings? Do you have like brothers and sisters?
One older sister.
Do you think it's the reason because of small families, that we want to feel a bigger family around us? Is that our need to have more of that resonance? And this is also, I think
it's something called, and I talk about this all the time, it's building community. I think the importance of building community, and it's something I realized from a very young age, is building a community. And you want to build an organic, natural community where it's sincere. And I realized that I took 4 months pretty much away from social media, away from everything to deal with my personal issues since last November. And when I finally, and I did that for a reason. I had only a handful of people, probably 10 people on most that knew what I was going through. And I did that on purpose. I needed to stay laser focused. I needed to focus my health, focus on
Mhm.
my family, and focus on getting as strong mentally, physically as possible to get through that journey. And when
Mhm.
I finally finished the surgery and I was home and I announced it, I had over 600 messages in a matter of 24 hours. And it shows
Wow.
community. It shows
As well.
how community, just how people, there are
Yes.
good people out there. There are people that care. There are
Of
people.
course.
And since I announced it, I get texts on a daily basis. How are you? How are you feeling? And it's people that really they have their own issues. Everybody's going through their own problems.
Sure.
And my problem to me is as big as your problem. My little cut on my finger that's getting this little infection might be
Mhm.
as big as somebody with a terminal disease. Like it's everybody has their own problem and they magnitude that problem into their life. Exactly. So
Into their own problems,
so
right?
the bare fact that if you build a strong community, and I think that's part of just giving back and giving that energy and that heart towards other people, because you're building this community that you know what it's so powerful, it's so important. It's almost like you're yeah, it's just it's almost like you're like you said, your extended
An
family.
extension, right? It's an
Yeah,
extension of the family in a way.
yeah,
Like, I don't know, like most of my clients, yeah, of course I have new clients, but they stick with me. Like most of my clients, I got now over for 7, 8 years, or over 6, 5 years.
yeah,
And it's like working with friends.
yeah, yeah,
And sometimes our self-tape sessions are so intimate because it's about acting. Sometimes they're 10 pages long of information. We're working through the fucking night. I'm sorry
yeah.
for
No,
cussing.
no, no.
Like, and so it's so much craftsmanship and so much heartmanship, and you get to know somebody so intimately and so personally. And over hours, he starts maybe crying, start talking about his shit before going back to the taping process. And it's so like you close the computer, but you didn't close a client. You closed like, oh, this was another beautiful chapter in this
Yeah,
book called life.
yeah,
Did I make money? Yes, of course. But of course, I invested everything that I humanly
yeah,
could to
yeah,
jumpstart this performance. So I was giving as much as I was receiving, I
yeah,
feel.
yeah.
And I'm, and I'm
You're almost like that dad figure because every
yeah,
time they get that audition, you're the number one cheerleader.
dude. I mean, we booked some serious movies over the years, and I've worked with Oscar winners. And so like when a client of yours, when a student of yours books like a big movie or a big project, it makes me
You
more
win.
happy than I win.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hundred
I
percent.
feel so
Hundred
happy.
percent.
Ask my
Hundred.
wife. I freak out more than I would,
Yeah, yeah.
if I would book this role, I probably wouldn't freak that much out.
Yeah, it's like
Like for
that.
sure.
It's like that dad watching his son get drafted in the majors or something. Yeah,
Beautiful.
yeah,
Because it's bigger than your experience.
yeah,
It's this, right? You gave something, he gave something. Together you work. So it's not just
yeah,
me
yeah,
figuring out the character and taping it, which is of course beautiful, but it's like you help this guy or this girl, and they're so immensely happy for that.
yeah,
And they
yeah,
share, and whenever you will meet that person again, it's like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and that's
And I'm sure a lot of yours is through Zoom or so something. So when you do eventually
yes.
meet this person in person, or you ever do have the
Yeah.
opportunity, it's so much more special. It's like that. It's like that bond. It's like, wow, I've
It's
known you.
crazy.
It's like, yeah, yeah, I love
Yeah.
that. I love that. I love
And
that.
people get, they immediately pick up on that. Oh, you guys know each other for a long time. It's like, yeah, well, it's actually the first time we met. But that's impossible. It's like, yeah, yeah. And then we
Yeah,
explain the story, and they're like, wow. But yeah, like when I meet those people, then physically, like in real life, it's amazing because it's like, yeah, we know each other.
yeah,
Like we
yeah,
know each other.
yeah.
Sometimes I know them better than some of their partners do.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, I agree. Yeah,
So
because
yeah,
you're opening up a different dialogue, a different sincerity, a different opportunity, right? And you're with them with their wins and their losses, so their downs
yes,
and highs. Yeah, I love that.
yeah.
I'm gonna ask you one more last question. Your wife, how long you guys been together? Where'd you guys meet, and what does she mean to you?
She 15 years now together, 6 years married. We married in Las Vegas. We met in
Las
Palermo in Sicily.
Vegas. Las
Yes,
Vegas. Okay.
yes, for sure, man, for sure. In a Ferris wheel.
Awesome.
Yeah, like she's from Naples, right? I'm
Yeah.
from Sicily. If we would marry on Italian ground, on Italian territory,
I know what you're gonna
that
say.
would mean 1 year of our life subtracted from our records, because we would just have to investigate all the people to the celebration, make sure we have checked out all the napkins, all the tissues, all the fabrics available in Italian territory for the linen, for the setup, for the cutlery, for it would be a nightmare. We looked each other in the eyes like, no, we have to marry just for us because we want to marry. I mean, we love our family and but we want to marry. We don't want to marry them. It would like be like 600 people showing up or something like that. It would be just madness. And so we thought we have to get somewhere where really it's just us. And then we just called two of our best friends, Daniel, the guy I was referring earlier to, and a very good friend of hers. She's a wonderful photographer, like multi-awarded photographer and an architect. And then we got 6 days into Las Vegas and we celebrated.
Awesome.
It was incredible. I met her in Palermo, and she's absolutely the balance of my existence, of my universe. She brought structure, sincerity, matureness into my life, like for real. And she had a lot of work, a lot of drilling to do, because of course I was this chaotic child, right? My parents split up when I was 7. I grew up in this theater, acting, graffiti, suburban street art type of world, never at home, role-playing games, convention on the weekends. I was a crazy child. My mother could, just barely hold me in a structure. And then when acting kind of really started, picking up, and I was, of course, like living my life, not in an unresponsible way, but there was never structure in my life. Even though I attended schools and all that, academies, all that, I've learned with my wife, like being at least to some degree reliable. And also to my clients, of course. I mean, then I started like understanding, the value of being there, and that made me stronger as well. And she's my balance of forces.
Yeah, I love that. And having that is so, having that one person there is so important. I mean, we're going on to, God, me and my wife have been together for 26 years. We've been married for 20.
Nice.
This year will be 20 years. September will be 20 years. And
isn't that amazing, man? I mean,
time flies. My parents. I'll let me finish with mine, and then I'll tell you my parents. But my more than ever, and obviously I love her to death, and we have an incredible relationship, 2 incredible children. My children are 14 and 16, and I'm 46, and I just turned 46. And more than ever, the last 4 months of my life, this showed me how important my wife is in my life. I mean, she never missed one appointment. She never missed 1 second, one phone call. She will leave work for even a phone call to be by my side. And having that, and there's moments you sit there and like, if I was single and I was going through this, like, would I mentally be able to handle it? And being able to have that support staff, that have that, there's nothing in the world more precious than that. And I look at my parents. My dad's been May 7th will be 2 years we lost my dad. And my dad and my mom were married for 51 plus years. And my dad and my mom took both early retirement. My dad was 55. My mom was 49. They took early retirement. And for the last 25 years of their lives together, they never missed one day apart. And they're like everybody. I mean, you have arguments. They would have an argument, and 5 minutes later, they'd be having an espresso together. And it's just, you see how precious that is, and how hard it is. Because now my mom lost her everything, and for the last 2 years, it's life will never be the same, right? So it's scary at moments, but having that true person in your life that's there by your side, there's nothing more important.
It's our emotional anchor.
100%.
Especially for the people like you and me who are explorers, who are asking questions, who are observing, who are, gathering a lot of information.
Yeah.
And developing a certain sensitivity for what is going on in the world and for what is happening. So I feel like the impact on people who are doing this type of work that we are doing, the impact on what is happening to the world is much bigger on us, because we kind of understand sometimes the magnitude, or appreciate the magnitude in a good and a bad way more of what is really going on. And so kind of affects you, of course, way more. It kind of involves you more. It drains more energy. And so to have that emotional anchor that you kind of, you can always fall back onto that emotional anchor and realize this is what it's all about, right? This is beautiful. This is super important. This brings me money. This gives me great satisfaction. But
Yeah.
here it is. There they are, right?
Yeah.
Let's get back to what really matters. And I mean, it's so granted. It sounds mundane, but sometimes my wife and I, like, now the company's kind of flourishing, and she's, creating her structure around her courses. She was the first one to teach script supervising methods on her level in Italy. She was the first to kind of open up, the schools to this possibility of giving those courses and giving the ladies out there the possibility to learn this very fascinating aspect of movie making. And we look each other in the eye sometimes and said, are we happier now that we have some cash and we kind of have a good life, and sometimes we can go out, have some great dinner nights, than we used to be when we were completely broke and we started this endeavor, like almost exactly 10 years ago, when we were, kind of, struggling. We were struggling making ends meet. We were struggling. I had to take on a 9-to-5 job. I had to come up with a creative solution for all that. My Italian was horrible back then when I moved back to Italy when I dropped out of Germany. And so we had so many challenges. We were, struggling a lot. And so, no, we weren't less happy back then than we are now. Because it was still us.
Yeah. I mean,
less expensive clothes, less expensive restaurants, less expensive vacations. And it was still us. Of course, now we feel a bit more safe and we can enjoy life a little bit more. We have a couple of digits more on that sheet, and that reminds us that we're a bit more secure and that we have more time to pander and to kind of think about our next move and where we want to pander our services to. But in the end, it's us. It's we are creating the circumstances. We are creating the situations. We are creating if we are happy or not. What does it mean to create, like, to have a dish of pasta? To have spaghetti Napoli, you need, well, what do you need? A glass of red wine.
It's you know what it is too, is that I think it's that, I mean, that European mindset too. When you get to North America, everybody is living to work. In Europe, they work just to live. It's the opposite. They work the minimal they have to enjoy life, because they realize life is so short and so special. You get to North America, it's that mindset of just work because I want the nicer car. Work. My neighbor's got a bigger house. Work. It's that mindset, that fucking mindset that just drives people crazy, and stress, anxiety, and life passes in a sec. Life passes in a sec. I look at my life. I look at my daughter. She's 16, turning 17 next month. I'm like, this is. I just put a picture yesterday of me and her 16-year-old. I'm like, where does time go? And as much as people say, "Oh, you have all the time in the world," no, you don't, because the minute you really blink, it's gone. And it's that one commodity, that one thing we can never get back, right? So I appreciate that. I appreciate that understanding that. Yeah, it doesn't matter where you are; it's the company you're with.
Absolutely. I mean, time is nothing else than a blank sheet of paper.
Yeah.
If you want to remind yourself what's written on that sheet of paper, make sure that it's an important phrase. If not, it's something just futile that just goes with the wind. So it's up to you what type of imprint you like to give to that sheet of paper and what you store inside of here. This is where your time goes. So if you have a lot of valuable time stored inside of here, probably you made something right while executing, right? Probably you made something valuable because it was stored. Otherwise, your heart knows exactly, I don't have to work with that, right? And so when time flies, it's because it's in a flow state.
Yeah.
When time goes by in a blink of an eye, it's because you're doing a chain, a collection of important things, one stacked on top of the other. And that's why you don't even have time to think. And that's beautiful when time passes by like that. Because when we are saying we were born in sin, what people don't get is it's not the carnal sin. It's not the spirit of flesh and foul behavior that the Bible means. If we can kind of take that very quick leap to faith. I mean, in sin, it means into decay. It means into the materialistic world that kind of, on an average is there for 72 years. It's a state. It's a period. Yeah. It's the sin you are in. It's not because of this preconception that something is bad with you and that you're born in sin, you're there to redeem yourself. It's there because you have the possibility. because time goes by. And so you have to make sure to store value.
Yeah.
If you don't, you're missing out.
Yeah. I know. Yeah, 100%. I love it. This is a great way to end this podcast. Where can our audience get a hold of you? Where can they find you? Your YouTube channel, everything. Give me all the information.
Sure. So you can find me on YouTube where it's the Coach MC Studio. Make sure to stop by if you need acting tips, if you need mindset tips, strategy, career tips, and if you want to, enhance your portfolio, your visual portfolio, you want to talk about your communicational game, or you need some instruments to step up your acting game, come over to the coachmc.studio, shoot me up an email. Let's talk about a free trial session. Let's find out if we're a great match for each other. You can find me on Twitter and on Instagram as well, where I have some art stuff going on as well. It's the Coach MC there, and pretty much all over the globe. And every Saturday, I'm a guest to Hypnotics YouTube channel. It's 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, when we talk about the entertainment industry, where we have character breakdowns, entertainment breakdowns, movie critics, and all that. So it's a lot of fun coming over to the Coach MC Studio, explore the infinite possibilities that you have stored inside of yourself, understand your value, and really come over as the most unique and remarkable performer out there. We will more than happy to help you out with all of your endeavors.
You've been awesome, brother. I appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you. Thanks so much.